Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. I hope that you guys all had a wonderful week waiting for the fun headlines of the week. We have cut down our news sections to 3 articles in each section, except I think I went with 2 in AI. We have privacy, security, AI, business, and I think we also have 2 SillyVille. So we got that going on for us tonight. And I don't think there's much else to say. So you can catch the show live, of course, Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anytime you want to catch it live, participate in the comments and see the back and forth on the live show. But with that, let's go ahead and get jumping right on into the news. First up, Chrome on Android is testing a big privacy upgrade for your web browsing. What's it putting in? A function that Firefox has had for years. Yay. So effectively, when you go to a website, Chrome on Android could soon gain new privacy features, limiting access to personal information in the same fashion that the web version of the browser does. Does the web version of the browser do this? I don't know. So the idea is, as you can kind of see from the picture, if you go to a site, and I'm sure you've all gone to a website on a phone, it's like, would you like notifications? Would you like to share your location data? Would you like, no, I would like absolutely nothing. My favorite is like, we care about your privacy. Okay, then why are you giving me this giant clunky screen that wants to collect every bit of data about me and track me around the internet? That doesn't seem like you care about my privacy. You know what I mean? So the option, though, is going to be to share, to only share this time, or to never share. And so those are the options that you have. Now, of course, I do and did just confirm this because, yes, due to a funny story I'm not going to get into now, and maybe I'll get into it the live if somebody reminds me, I did have to reset the Firefox browser on my phone. And having done that, I did actually have to go through, and there are very easy toggle buttons that say, hey, don't allow any locations ever. Don't allow any notifications ever. So apparently Chrome is adding a feature that Firefox has had for at least 2 years, because to be perfectly honest, I've not updated the software on my phone in about 2 years since I installed this phone. And so, with that being said, that feature is at least 2 years old. So there you have it. So there's what Chrome is up to on the Android phone. That's very nice of them. I'm very happy that they're finally catching up there with the privacy focus of Firefox browser. There you go. Once again, closed like 700 pop-ups from MIT Tech Review. I have to weigh this every time I decide I want to use them. But this is great because this is actually a story. It gets close to the thing I've been talking about for a while. Now, it doesn't go far enough, of course, but the FTC has an unprecedented move against data brokers. No, it actually doesn't. It had it slapped one data broker for sharing precise location data on people, but said nothing about the thousands of other hidden data brokers that are profiting off of all sorts of data from all sorts of people. Now, there's a related story to this that I cut from the news just because I'm trying to keep no more than 3 articles in each, and that is that Google had promised to delete sensitive data from people's maps, i.e. if you went somewhere that, certain parties would like you to not know that you're going to, like an abortion clinic, etc., to remove those from the data, of course, which is really hilarious because you'll see a giant map, somebody's approaching, and boom, there's a blank in the data, and then they're leaving. You just go back and look at that spot. Oh, a clinic. Got it. I know where you've been. So, doesn't make any sense, But with that being said, this is a specific data broker that had embedded their information inside of hundreds of apps. And this is why you should really steer away from using phone apps in general. Even web browsers, you want to use Firefox Focus or Firefox Clar. And I think the DuckDuckGo browser does the same methodology. When you're compiling an app, you pull in libraries that say, okay, well, a web browser might need a camera. The web browser might need a microphone. The web browser might need the GPS. Why? Well, it might need those functions if you need to do a web-based Zoom call on a browser or something. It needs your cameras and microphones. Well, the thing about Clar and Firefox Focus, they do not even have the elements compiled to collect location or microphone or camera, which means that by nature of how they're compiled, they're more secure. And the problem here is that all sorts of apps have all sorts of libraries, and embedded in all of these libraries is all of these data brokers. So an app has hundreds of just data brokers just hogging up data that can follow you around and have different models. And that's what's going on here. So one of the things that one of the data brokers was doing is precise location data. Now, they talk in here about the 23andMe breach. They talk in here about the U.S. military broker selling data about U.S. military personnel. We covered that in addition to the news as well. But what they got into here is they banned a company called OutLogic, which was called Xmode Social, from sharing users' sensitive information. Now, note, they did not ban the whole company. They just said you can't share users' sensitive information, particularly precise location that tracked people's visits to places like medical clinics, and it required it delete all of the previous location data it collected. Now, note, they did not say, hey, you're not allowed to quietly soak up all sorts of data about people and just send it out. There's no limitation on that. But what there is a limitation on is just the sensitive location data. And I think that this does not go far enough, but at least it's a step in the right direction as more and more people are starting to recognize this. But this is why you don't want to use phone apps. You should do if you need to do anything on your phone, it should mostly be web-based and using a browser or thing that doesn't have those. But even that, you're not completely safe. So it's better to leave the phone at home and get a desktop computer and things like that, and just do most of your important stuff on the desktop computer. So the good news is they are actually going after some data brokers. The bad news is it doesn't go nearly far enough and doesn't have a scope that looks at anything important. Did you walk near a certain clinic? I don't want them collecting anything. Where is the global national opt-out that says no company in this country may have any data on me, period? Unless I've explicitly provided it explicitly to them, only explicit the amount I needed. The problem is this, of course, goes against the whole know your customer rules of the Patriot Act and downstream nonsense from that. And so they're not going to do that. But in reality, that's what they need to do, especially since there's so many data breaches back and forth. In fact, we're going to get into that in our security. Yeah, is your email in one of these 71 million new addresses? Just add to I've been pwned. Have you checked lately? So FTC is taking some moves against data brokers, not nearly enough and not nearly far enough and not nearly large enough in scope. And the FCC, this one just really makes me kind of want to throw it into SillyVille here. So FCC wants cars to make life harder for stalkers. So your car's collecting all this data and people can gain access to this data. FCC wants to step in. So the FCC, not like the National Transportation Safety Board, not FTC, the FCC, the Communication Standards, wants to step in and make life harder for stalkers in your car. I have a brilliant idea. FCC, if somebody's listening from the FCC, somebody's watching so we can get this information from the FCC, I'm going to solve your problem. Ban car makers from collecting data on me. Shocking, I know. Now, of course, we covered the case of that one woman who, was it a lady? I forget, was it a lady or somebody else? But in the Oregon law, they sued the car company because they couldn't delete their data from the phone. From their cell phone was connected via Bluetooth to the phone, or to the car. Excuse me, I'm misspeaking here. I sound like Joe Biden. They connected their phone to their car with Bluetooth. In so doing, the car company intercepted not just the messages that went on, it intercepted every message in the phone. It went to the phone, it collected all data, and it sent it back to the car company. The people said, I want to delete the data. And they said, no. And then they took it to court. And despite the state having a privacy law, the state legal system determined that the car company collecting and scraping every bit of data off of your phone was not actually a violation of said law. And so now the FCC wants to step in and say the stalkers are using the data in the cars to track people. Okay. I got a brilliant idea. Let's forbid the car from collecting and storing any data, and then it won't be a problem. Now, will it? Because the car company does not need to know where my car is at all times. I am perfectly capable of that. And even if my car is stolen, they're not exactly helping me. They're not like, oh yeah, well, the car's over on 32nd Street. Go get it. They're not working with the police. Well, sucks to be you. We got your data, though. We're going to sell your data. We're going to monetize your data. We know where your car is, but we're not going to tell you where your car is. That's sort of the way the car companies work. So FCC, I can make this very simple. You don't even need to have a giant congressional law. You just need to make a rule and say, car companies, you're not allowed to collect data. You're a car you use for transportation. You're not a smartphone. You're not a data collection tool. There's no reason you have to collect and store and share and modify and sell data of your customers. There's no need for that. So get rid of it. Won't be a problem. There's my thought. Anybody, connections to the FCC, go ahead and pass that on. Tell that to your legislators, whatever else. All right, if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Say we are highlighting Pro Writing Aid. I use this to do a good final edit of the short stories you can find over on our supporter networks, Patreon, Subscribestar, Locals, etc. So Pro Writing Aid is an excellent tool. It has always been privacy first. It does not care about what type of data you write. It is not collecting or monetizing that data. And you can get the free version, you can get a premium version, and there is a pro version. And if you want the premium or the pro version and pay yearly, you can get 20% off of those. And there's a yearly, or there's also a lifetime, which you can still get 20% off with my coupon code TLM.li/PWA is going to get you 20% off, and it will help support this channel. So if you're looking for a good grammar checker that is privacy focused, consider looking at Pro Writing Aid. With that, let's have a look over at security news next. Thousands of Android TV boxes hit by dangerous new malware dropping a botnet. So great. All you wanted to do is get online and watch some smut produced by Netflix. And all of a sudden now your TV is part of a botnet that's sitting there DDoSing Netflix itself. Isn't that great? Or they're part of the spam campaigns that have been literally attacking my servers of late. I went through and blocked several Russian IP blocks from my servers. I did why cPanel does not have the simple ability to say, hey, block everything from Russia, block everything from Ukraine, block everything from China, block everything from Iran, block everything from Singapore. I'm not doing business with any of those nations anyway, and the only people getting on my site from those places are seeming to be sending me spam. But no, we have to push the botnets of insecure smart TVs that can't really be updated. And what the payload is they're being coerced somehow to install some apps. So isn't it amazing? Like, you can't sideload apps onto these things. They insist on using their safe and secure stores, yet somehow 170,000 active bots got installed onto these systems through the perfectly safe, completely safe stores because people downloaded malware onto their devices that ended up making the TV an endpoint for botnets. So 1.3 million unique IP addresses. Hey, isn't that great? So basically, as soon as and this is the cream on the crop of this guy here is that these are being utilized in these malware as a service systems. So you have this giant botnet and you say, yeah, we have 170,000 infected TVs that are bidding. We can go ahead and have our TVs DDoS somebody for a rate of $5.99 a month, And so that really is what's going on here. So it's all just based on malware that is downloaded, of course, from the curated stores. Isn't that wonderful? So be careful what you're downloading, folks. Be careful what you're downloading onto your smart TV. Why do we even need a smart TV? By the way, if you didn't know, a TV seems to make you dumber and dumber. We'll kind of get into this into the business section a little bit, but I don't know. What do you guys think? And GitLab has a 0-day leading to 0-click vulnerability account takeovers. So if you're using just the GitLab, just the regular GitLab, is it GitLab dot whatever it is, then that one there is already patched. If you have a community edition or an enterprise edition GitLab, push the updates as soon as you possibly can, as this is a zero-click account takeover. If somebody gets into your server, they can go ahead and take over everything that you are doing. So this is a score 10 out of 10. Whoa, and I clicked on the bottom of the page somehow. There you go. 10 out of 10. They've discovered it in GitLab CE and EE, affecting all versions from 16.1 prior to 16.1.6, 16.2 prior to 16.2.9, 3 up to 7, 4 up to 5, and .5 up to .6, 6 up to .4, and 16.7 prior to 16.7.2, in which user account password reset emails could be delivered to an unverified email address. Isn't that wonderful? So they get in there, they change your email address, and then they submit the thing, and no email address is fixed. So they have taken over. They will not work if the target has 2FA enabled, since the attacker will not be able to log in. I'm sure that they might actually know how to get around that one by now. But anyway, if you are running a GitLab account, go ahead and patch that now so that you don't have any surprises later. And finally, Have I Been Pwned had 71 million emails from the NAS API. And the NAS API, the problem we have with this is we don't know exactly where all they came from. This was, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was part of the like the Christmas time breach system. So a bunch of these things were collected from a variety of different systems. The data set had 1 billion lines of stolen credentials compiled from credential stuffing lists, information stealing, malware logs. So we don't know exactly where all these came from. But what we do know is that they were part of this database was used. This I thought was very fascinating. Illicit.services. Sounds legit, right? Illicit.services was utilizing the NAS API data set, but it took the service down in fear that it was being used to dox and sim people. Great. So Illicit.services is using stolen hack data and says, whoa, we're going too far with doxing and sim swap attacks. We got to take our service down. But it's like, screw it. We need the money. They put it back up. We don't care what you're doing with it. So Illicit.services is now utilizing the information, and so NAS API was being sold for a small fee. So somebody purchased it, sent it to Have I Been Pwned. And so you can actually find yourself that you're in there. So if you go ahead and check their website, it will tell you which breach it was in. And the big problem with the NAS API is that since this is a collection that we don't know exactly where it came from, we know that some account was breached, but we don't know what. Now, if you were able to see from that list what your password might be or the starts of that password, if you would get your hands on that list, and you're using different passwords, you could be able to see which accounts were compromised. But it sounds to me like most people on this particular list are people that were reusing passwords anyway. So good luck with that. So don't reuse passwords. Just a small hint there. If you want to help support the channel, we do have a locals page, switchedtolinux.locals.com. You can jump on over there. We do have these short stories over there, and the non-paying members can usually read either the first section or the first part of the story. So if you want to just get a little taste of what the short stories might look like, you can join over there as a free member on Locals. And you can usually read the first little bit before you'd have to create an account and pay for the rest of it. So if you want to see those short stories that we're doing, science fiction short stories that are related to modern day trends in technology and other privacy services, you can go ahead and do that on switchedtolinux.locals.com. And with that, we're going to jump on over into a couple of brief AI stories next. Of course, we have heard AI is not going to take anybody's jobs. It's just going to make everybody work more productive. We're all going to sip on lattes on the beach while AI does all of our work. And then, of course, the corporate overlords look at this and go, why are we paying this guy to sip on the beach sipping lattes? We can run that AI, sure. So Google lays off hundreds more people as the ad division switches entirely to AI-powered sales. So the good news is this is not usually American jobs that are lost. I know I've talked to some of these ad salespeople for Google Ads for clients of mine. Yes. Oh, boy. And trust me, the AI would actually do their job better. They are not particularly competent. I have horror stories about both times I've talked to them. So, but in December, they heard that job cuts might be coming for Google's ad sales division, and it's here. Business Insider reports Google is laying off hundreds of employees from the ad sales team. Mostly it's going to be cutting them out because they said, hey, this little bot that can be run by 3 guys can do 50 guys' jobs. Hey, let's do it. So AI is indeed coming for your job. So if you're working in any field, if you don't even if you're like, oh, AI couldn't take over my job, you might just start looking at other opportunities that you might have now. Just kind of see what's going on. So there you have it, guys. Yeah, AI, it's coming for your job. And OpenAI's policy no longer explicitly bans the use of its technology for military and warfare. Good feeling about life is now gone. Wonderful. So what is worse, Google dropping "Don't be evil" from its slogan, or AI dropping "No more military and warfare use for our AI"? Now, they are clarifying you're not allowed to use it for weapons of war. Like, you're not allowed to use it for offensive, pain-causing weapons. You can only use it for military applications in defense. Like, defense of people by blowing them all up. Wait, that's not what we had in mind? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, just a few days ago, their usage policy page explicitly states the company prohibits the use of its technology for military and warfare. The line has since been deleted, The Intercept finds. On January 10th, to be clearer, provide more specific guidance. The changelog states it still prohibits the use of its LLMs for anything that can cause harm, and it warns people against using its services to develop or use weapons. However, the company has removed language permitting to military and warfare. So I find this interesting that it says you cannot use it to cause harm. Is not the loss of hundreds of people's jobs causing harm? Not only to those families, but to society as a whole as the economy takes a serious hit. So indeed, people are already violating OpenAI's terms by deploying AI systems based on this in order to replace people's jobs. They're already using it for harm. Really? I mean, am I wrong? Just thought. I don't want to lose my job to AI. I think I have in many cases, but there you have it. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a shop.switchedtolinux.com. You can get this amazing coffee cup with an alien in a tinfoil hat. Matches this guy right about here. And we have other things as well. We have coffee cups. We have baby onesies. There you go. If you got a cute little baby in your life, get yourself a Switch to Linux baby onesie. I even have a baby onesie with an alien in it. Yeah, look at that. We have RMRF No Preserve Root Code of Conduct. If you remember that fun controversy. And we have Switch to Linux, you fool. Cats and tinfoil hats. We do have shopping bags as well. We have water bottles. I should get me another water bottle. We have Sub to the Cat, the Human is Crazy. So we have all sorts of fun stuff over here on shop.switchetolinux.com. And with that, let's have a look over at business news next. So first up in business news, YouTube's ad blocker problems are actually an Adblock Plus bug. So this was not related to YouTube itself. It wasn't related to ad blockers in general. It was just related to a problem with Adblock Plus. So I wanted to bring this up because not everything is YouTube slowing everything down. Believe it or not, I don't think they're back here going, how do we mess with everybody, the ad blockers? I think they're more concerned with looking under every possible couch cushion, looking for an extra couple quarters. But that's really their focus. But the latest big jolty slowdown and stuff, all related to Adblock Plus. So that is Adblock's issue. I'll tell you that the uBlock origin seems best. I actually got ads at the beginning of videos for a day, and then that cleared up. And I'll be perfectly clear, I do not at all mind if a video starts with an ad. If I could say, hey, let's split down the middle. YouTube, give me an ad at the beginning of a video. That's fine, as long as you don't interrupt the video. It's when the video gets interrupted, I get thoroughly pissed because it's like my mind is on the video. I can't have it interrupted so you're going to try and sell me something that in Bidenomics economy, I don't have the money to buy anyway. I'll compromise. In fact, for a while, I didn't run an ad blocker on YouTube at all, as long as I just got the ad at the beginning, because my video is not interrupted. It's when they started interrupting my video every 2.5 minutes, I put an ad blocker in, because they went for the excess. And when you go for the excess, the pendulum swings back really hard the other way. And if you're still standing in the way, you get your butt handed to you. And I think that that's what happened to YouTube. They noticed everybody switched to ad blockers because they got too aggressive. It's not that people are opposed to ads in general. It's that they're opposed to ads every 2 minutes that breaks up the data flow of the video. And that's the problem. But this particular issue we had last week, it was explicitly related to an issue introduced by version 3.22 of the Adblock Plus, which was subsequently fixed in 3.22.1. So that is really the thing. I wanted to cover that just to say, hey, I'm going to defend YouTube on that one, believe it or not. This is hilarious. So, of course, we haven't done a video on Alexa in a while, so of course we have to say it. Hey, Alexa, order unicorn meat. Confirmed. Now, I know some people out there are like, I don't want to accidentally say the word and trigger your devices. No, I want you to. I want you to know how bad it is to have these stupid things. So, hey, Alexa, order unicorn meat. Confirm. Why do you have this thing listening at all times? You never know what type of weirdo is going to come up and say, hey, Alexa, play Baby Shark. Oh, now that's going too far. All right. But now Amazon wants to charge for Alexa. So this was hilarious because Alexa does not have a super high adoption. People in general don't really like it. You might use it to like play a song or something, or, hey, Alexa, what's the weather? Hey, Alexa, what's the weather in Timbuktu? Sorry, tell me what's the weather in Timbuktu right now. Your Alexa just said something. All right. So in the light of this, now they want to start charging for it because they got to figure out how to make money. Now, Amazon, this is the same company that they just added, well, not yet, in 10 days, the low tier of Amazon Prime, the one you've been paying for, you keep paying the same amount of money, but they're going to give you more ads. Now, if you give them more money, they're going to take the ads away. So they are now stretching for more money. And now they're trying to say that in June, they want to start charging for Alexa. So they want to start charging for a pre-AI generation, non-AI talking to assistant that's always been limited and has always had a poor adoption. I have a sneaky suspicion this isn't going to go well. If you work on Alexa's team, you might want to start brushing up that resume and start putting it out before you have to film yourself getting laid off on a TikTok video. Just saying. So there you have it, guys. So now what they're talking about, there's a lot of internal discussions. So it almost looks like the internal Alexa team's kind of fighting this because they know it's not going to work. And so there's a lot of back and forth going on about the subscription model. So like, let me know in the comments, would you pay for Alexa services? Or is this like, well, that was fun while it lasted. Or maybe I'll go with one of the 15 other ones that don't have to. Like, Amazon rolls out a paid subscription and all of a sudden Bixby comes back, right? Is that what it's going to take? And this was a neat story here. What happens when a school bans smartphones? Now, this is actually not the first school that did it, but this was a boarding school, and that was really a difference. This is a boarding school in Massachusetts called Buxton Boarding School. Now, the other school I heard about that did this is Tennessee. They did it this, was it this year? I can't remember. I can't remember if it started the school year in September. I think it did start in the school year in September. They banned smartphones with very, very limited very, very limited exceptions. People who needed them for medical or something like that would still be allowed to have them, but again, seriously restricted, and we need to look for other options if possible. And that school, massive increase in academic performance and competency and decrease in social and behavioral problems. Like, it was like the single best thing ever done for education was that school in Tennessee banned smartphones. So this boarding school did the same. So they banned smartphones. Now, since this is a boarding school, they have a lot more control. And it's not like in Tennessee, which was a public high school, the kids are not allowed to have their smartphone, but as soon as the school day's over, they're back to their smartphones. This is a boarding school. No smartphones at the boarding school, period, including staff. No one is allowed a smartphone. Now, what they actually did is they went with the light phone instead, which I absolutely love this. One student puts it, it's like the demon baby of an iPad and Kindle, which I kind of wanted to name the banning cell phones as the demon baby of iPad and Kindle, but that couldn't fit on my banner. So the light phone itself, and best I could tell is it's, it looks like it may or may not be shipped right now. I actually went through and looked at the pre-order system. It's, I think it's $300. It does work. It does work on Mint Mobile, which is one of our affiliates, tlm.li/mm. It does work on that. It works on other things. It doesn't work on all NVMOs, so you really have to check. You can see it has, it just has the liquid paper display on it, like a Kindle does. It has a couple of rudimentary map apps, just a couple of very rudimentary things. It can't do a lot else. And they said they intentionally made it a little bit harder and a little bit clunkier to use explicitly to prevent people from spending a lot of time on it. Although it is kind of neat because it does actually have a good QWERTY keyboard, not trying to text with a little dumb phone. So for those that are looking for a option that's not a smartphone, but not an annoying flip phone, like if you still want to text full sentences and things, this might be an option for you to look into. In fact, I might pass on to a friend of mine who went to the dumb phone to see what he thinks about it. Being said, he's also on Mint. So there's two color models as well. There is the lighter one and there is the darker one as well. So you can see you have two different color choices to get. And I guess that does have a headphone jack. That's good. And you can listen to some basic music. So you can use it as like an MP3 player type thing as well. And so it is possibly a neat down the middle thing. So that's what they did. So all of the kids, they can't have the smartphones there. And they all can have this instead. And they said that when this happened, it was the best thing ever. So 75% of respondents said cell phones were negatively affecting students' physical and mental health. The Virginia School District said that, let's see, we're trying to tell students to put away their cell phones 5 to 10 times a class. 14% said that they did more than 20 times per class. There's a lot of information about there. Well, they got the idea last year as an experiment. And so they decided to push it school-wide. Even the administrators, no one's allowed a smartphone. So even leaving the school on school duty, they're also not allowed a smartphone, just to have the overall basics. So what they actually said is that competency went up. People had their social skills drastically increased. All academic performances went up at least a letter grade. Just every element of school and society markedly improved. In fact, I love this art. Here's a piece of art. It's just a painting of a whole dumb phone. Look at that. That's great. And so it was just a really neat experiment. I think more schools need to do this. Now, again, I am not a fan of the government coming down and saying, you're not allowed to have a smartphone and we're going to ban smartphones among kids in society. I think that that's the bad approach to take. However, that being said, I really do think that we should have a lot more talk about it. We should have a lot more of a social conversation, and maybe parents should step up and actually be parents again. You know, all the decline in the world is because parents stopped being parents. They stopped teaching their kids respect. And then now we have disrespectful lunatics meandering around, and that forces people like me to get into a van and go out and drive in the middle of a desert where nobody's around so I don't have to deal with the nonsense. I mean, come on, guys. But this is kind of neat. And of course, you can go for the demon baby of the iPhone and Kindle with the light phone, which is about $300, and it does work on several carriers, and they have a comprehensive list of carriers it works with, and you can contact them for more details as well. So you can have a look over there. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do use DigitalOcean as an affiliate. So if you want to use all form of cloud services, whether that's your own private VPN or if you want to do a Jellyfin server or a Jitsi server, Nextcloud hosting, just anything you want to do on a cloud servers, consider looking at DigitalOcean. You're going to get $200 in credit, good for 60 days. And you can spin up as many things as you want, play around with that, see what it can do for you. And when you spend $25, I'll get $25 in credit, good for my purchases. And I'm spending more on DigitalOcean than anybody else for hosting a month, just because their services are so good and I have a wide variety of things that I need them for. So with that, guys, let's have a look at your favorite place and mine. We are heading to SillyVille. So first up, this is a follow-up to a story. Man, we did the first story this a long time ago, back when I was still in the sticks and the bricks, looking at the eBay case. Of course, there's a newsletter, the husband-wife couple that wrote a newsletter that was just buying and selling tips for people with little eBay stores and Amazon stores and things like that. Well, they actually had a lot of good positive tips that drove a lot of people to sell on eBay. So eBay made a lot of money, but they also said, well, hey, we have a few criticisms. And so despite having these criticisms, eBay decided to get crazy psycho towards them, literally sending them bloody pigs masks stocked by employees, sending them live cockroaches, sending them a fetal pig corpse. I mean, all sorts of like stuff that goes way beyond the line of saying bad things, like actual DT, not DistroTube, domestic T words. I'm not sure you can say those on the tubies anymore. So the case is actually over and employees are going to jail over this. So, of course, the high-ranking eBay executive, Jim Bond, started a targeted harassment campaign against the Steiners to make them stop criticizing the company. The harassment is so grievous that they and several employees are going to prison because of it. Check out the hella folks eBay put this couple through. Bond and his co-conspirators executed a harassment campaign intended to intimidate the victims and to change the content of the newsletter's reporting. Okay, somebody is writing a newsletter giving the positives driving several people to your company, but says, hey, but we also have a few of these criticisms. And you start a campaign including anonymous, disturbing deliveries to victims, including a book on surviving the death of a spouse, a bloody pig mask, a fetal pig, and a funeral wreath, live insects, which were cockroaches, sending private Twitter messages and public tweets criticizing the newsletter's content and threatening to visit the victims in their city and traveling to the city to surveil the victims and install a GPS tracker onto their car. Somewhat related to our short story this week. The harassment also featured Craigslist posts inviting the public for S-word encounters at their home. So a company is doing a newsletter about you, and this is your response. Do you really think this is going to go well for you? Oh, maybe we'll stop because they're sending bloody pigs to us in the mail. It sounds to me like you might get investigated. Like, that's like criminal level stuff. That's like you're sending bloody animal corpses in USPS. The federal government frowns upon that, and since it's going from state to state, people start getting felonies for that. So, yeah, imagine that. The prosecuting U.S. attorney, the company's employees and contractors involved in the campaign put the victims through hell in a petrifying campaign aimed at silencing their reporting and protecting the eBay brand. I don't think they succeeded in protecting the eBay brand. We left no stone unturned on our mission to hold accountable every individual who turned the victim's world upside down through the never-ending nightmare of menacing and criminal acts. eBay itself is being held criminally liable for their employees' actions, paying a $3 million fine, being monitored by a corporate compliance officer for 3 years, and making significant enhancements to its compliance programs. I don't know. I'm not sure that goes around. I think that more current employees should probably be on the hook for this, but we'll let that go because people are actually going to jail here. The biggest ones involved. Okay, I retract. I think they did fine. The company should be paying a lot more. They should be paying a lot more than $3 million. We'll put it that way. But yeah, real people are going to real pound me in the hiney prisons here, so that's good. So let's see. They issued a statement as well. Let's see if I could find what the costs are. Just as okay, now that eBay is found criminally guilty, now they're filing a civil case. Okay, so they'll probably get their millions themselves for it as well. They fired the chief communications officer. Great. The chief communications officer is utilizing communications involving fetal pigs. Was that on the expense report? Should accounting said, hey, chief communications officer, what's up with this bloody pig you have on our orders being shipped out to this little place? Yeah. SillyVille just keeps getting better. The good news is swatting is going to end because the White House was just swatted. Oh, God. I hope they didn't interrupt Joe's beauty sleep with this call. Fire trucks and ambulances swarmed the White House on Monday morning after the caller told 911 dispatchers that the building was on fire and someone was trapped inside. President Joe was at Camp David when the call came in. And of course, I forgot that Joe takes a vacation every other day. Man, can't keep track. See, this is part of a good presidential strategy. You're all on vacation so much nobody knows where you are, you know. The call, which came in at 7:03 a.m., was determined by the District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical and U.S. Secret Service personnel to be a false alarm. Fire in the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, a D.C. dispatcher said at 7:04 a.m. And all clear was declared 7:15. Someone was reached at the callback number. Report indicated they did not place it. A source told the AP Press the call was probably spoofed. Who would have thunk it? So now, of course, we can figure out who this is because it's very important, because you shouldn't be swatting anybody, let alone the White House. I mean, this is the regime that is throwing people in jail for criticizing them in the news media. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that you don't want to mess with them. But if they can figure out who did this swatting call, they can figure out who did every swatting call. So let's just go ahead and make it an absolute Class A attempted murder felony. And if you intentionally are placing a swatting call to somebody, you should just go to jail for the next 20 to 30 years. There you go. And if we get the research to figure out who it is, sure, let's do it. Sounds good to me. Very interesting. Fascinating week. Very fascinating week here. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Subscribe Star page, subscribestar.com/switched-to-linux. We do have our short stories over here. I am watching as our short story. You can sign on as a supporter on any amount and gain access to not only the print text of the story, we also have an audiobook download for you. The audiobook download is going to expire on the 15th of February, so get your download now while you can. All right, thank you for watching the weekly news roundup, and we will see you soon for more videos. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.